I'm now going to introduce Vincenzo Aizo and Michael Silva. So they're going to talk about how attackers compromise NHIs, and also we'll have a demo session which will be really insightful and give you some real perspectives on how easy it is to compromise and get into organizations.
Hey everyone, Michael Silva. I run solution engineering at Astrix. I see a lot of familiar faces, which is great. Right? It means we're actually building a community here. My past 20 years, I do offensive and defensive security, teach people how to break in, and then people how to stop people from breaking in. So what we're going to show here is I chose this breach only because it really lines up with what Vincenzo was talking about, where it's simply just logging in, finding credentials instead of using a rootkits or anything special. So I'm going to talk you through it as we go to set this up. Essentially, we'll skip the phishing part. The phishing part was that I looked for a company that I decided either wronged me or I just wanted to have fun with them. And I decided to go through all their GitHub repos and find any leaked credentials that we talked about earlier. We're going to go ahead and see that in public repos. We're going to find some credentials. And this is me actually going through those repos, finding the credentials, and going laterally through their system across cloud, SaaS, and back and forth. And I'll say there's always a few things that we want to do when we are doing a hack, right? We want to steal, conceal, and persist, right? We want to get some sort of value out of it. We want to get some source code, we want some data, we get something. Then we want to conceal our actions. Like we don't want anyone to know exactly what we did. We will make it a little bit tough. And then we want to persist. We want to create a backdoor. We want to come back whenever we want to come back, right? So what we're going to do here is we're looking at we're going to clone the repo that we found. We're going to clone down the events, and we're going to use an open source tool called GitLeaks to just see if we can find any secrets inside of the repo itself. So once we run GitLeaks, we're going to see that we have two results. One is an AWS access key, the other is a webhook. So we're going to go ahead and describe where that secret is, so we can see if we also have the access key plus the secret. We can see kind of in the finding that we have it. We're going to go look at that file, that .sh file, and we're going to describe it here. And this is also a fun part here where we're actually not going to find the file. When we don't find the file, it actually means that it's in a different branch, right? And we'll describe the branches here and see that it's actually not in the main branch. Where this is important is a lot of people only scan the main branch. They don't scan sub-branches, right? When we do scan sub-branches, and we can actually say, okay, let's go look at the commit that this actually came from. We'll describe the commit. It will have the secrets inside there, even if we don't want to go look directly at that branch. Once we go ahead and describe the commit, we're going to see what we want to see, right? We see in the green here, you'll see we have the access key, right? That is denoted by the AKIA, right? We have a prefix for most secrets, AKIA being AWS access token, and we have our secret variable. So what we're going to do next is we're going to see, do these actually go to anything, right? Are these just old credentials? Are they new credentials? Do they work? So what we're going to do is we're going to set up a profile looking at AWS access key, secret key, default region, sure, whatever you want. And then we're going to go ahead and we're going to use STS caller identity. This is basically the ET phone home of AWS and say, who am I, what can I do? What this is going to tell us is that we are actually active. We're active, and we are a user account that's a service account called Square CD, CI/CD, SA. So what I'm going to try to do next is I'm not going to try to do any human functions on it. I'm going to try to see, can I actually see other secrets with this? I'm going to stay on the non-human side and try to describe secrets. Look, I can, right? So I have two secrets here. I have a CI/CD Slack bot, and I also have a personal access token at the bottom there. I can tell because they labeled it nice for me. And I can go ahead and understand that it goes to prod, goes to GitHub. So first we're going to go look at the Slack bot. We're going to look at the Slack bot. We're going to run a Java query against it to see, hey, can we actually describe the secret instead of just list it? We're going to go ahead and run that, and we only want the value, and there we go, right? And we can actually see there's a bot token and a user token, which is unfortunately common practice by people building bots, so they put their user token as well. And again, on that prefix, we can see XOX goes to Slack, B is a bot token, P is a user token. So we're going to copy both here, and we're going to put those into Postman. Postman's a tool that I can run API calls against any API endpoint that I have access to. We're going to put in the bot token. I'll show you the bot tokens here, and then we're going to do the same thing for the personal token for the user, and then we're going to do something fun against the public API endpoint of Slack. So luckily for us, the public API endpoint of Slack, there's another call home, tell me where I go. So we're going to use the auth test to say, hey, am I actually valid key? If I am, what workspace do I go to? And it's going to go ahead and tell me, hey, you are okay. You're a real credential, and you're going to go to this specific Slack is where your credential will work. And then one of the other items that is not too public or too well known is the fact that it also passes back the permissions in the OAuth headers. Right? It'll actually tell me in the scopes what permissions this key has against this Slack workspace. So now I have the full understanding of what I can do with this bot token. Knowing that user tokens are pretty much more permissive than bot tokens, I'm going to go ahead and replace the bot token with the user token, and I'm going to see that I have some really cool ones, including channel history and group history. Group history is a very ominous one. It doesn't look like it is, but what it's telling you is that I can actually read private DMs that I have access to. So what I'm going to head next is I'm going to list all Slack channels that I can get to. I can see I can get to a dev channel. I can get to general channel, right? So I have some channels, right? Now that I know that I can actually see channels inside the Slack workspace, we're going to go ahead and search the messages for AWS access keys. And you'll see inside the call, we'll put at the end of the query, AKIA, at wildcard. And I'm looking for this because one, I want to find secrets. I don't want to find all messages. And two, I know they use AWS because I found a leaked AWS key. So what I'm going to see is that I actually do have a hit when I run it against all the messages in the system. And I'm going to see a very common message that everyone's probably seen here before. It says, hey, here's your secret for AWS. Save it to your password manager. Get rid of this. Guess what never happened? They never got rid of it, right? So now we have the secret, we have the AWS access key and the secret key here as well. Now we're going to go ahead and do what you think. We're going to create another AWS profile. We're going to see if this key works, or if we've hit a dead end and we got to look somewhere else. So we're going to put in the new key. I'll show you, it's going to the new value, GWNH. Same thing, secret access key, default region format. We're going to do that, call home again. What can this key actually do? Is it valid? When I start running back, is it valid? I'm going to get an answer here, and it's going to be a very bad answer for everyone on their end. It's an admin key, right? So now I have an AWS admin credential inside of this environment that I'm going to go do some cool stuff with. So now I'm going to look at all the user policies that's attached to this admin key. I see I have S3 full access. RDS, well, this is a little cheeky, right? Hopefully you don't have this in your environment, but they do have these environments. So now that I know I can do some really fun stuff, I'm going to go back, and I'm not going to do anything crazy yet. I'm just going to go back and look at the secrets again, and I'm going to start listing other secrets. We saw that Slack bot was already there. Okay, there's that GitHub prod access token. Let's go ahead and describe that one. Let's see what that one allows us to do, if it's still valid or not. And we're going to go ahead and describe that. And we're going to get an answer, right? We have a GHP, which is a GitHub personal access token. So now I'm going to say, okay, let's go ahead and take this key, and let's go ahead and put it into Postman, and let's see if we can get anything else from the repos. You remember before, we only had access to the public repos because we were not inside their system or inside their organization. Hopefully we can get something different here. So now I'm going to go ahead and run against list all repos, and I'm going to have a private equals true, meaning I don't care about the public repos. I already know about those. I want to see all the private repos. And I see, first one I hit is Square CD app prod, right? So now I'm getting a little happy, right? So I'm going to go ahead and get the full name of that repository. I'm going to save that as an environment variable as well, because what I'm going to start doing is describing the contents of that GitHub repo to see if there's anything cool I want to take. So we're going to go ahead and list all, we're going to get that repo. We're going to list the contents of that repo. When we put that in, we're going to get some boring stuff at the beginning, right? All of our headers, the editor config, git ignore files, nothing that's really special here. And what we're going to start seeing is, readme, right? Maybe that tells me what it does. But we're going to start hitting some cool files down here in a bit. Perfect, right? We see scripts. Maybe they hard-coded other secrets because it's internal. Here's where we start, getting a little happy. Right now we have source code. So now we're going to go ahead, and what we would do from here is actually download the source code, take it, and now we've done the first part, which is we want to make something out of this hack. We want to get some money. So again, we're going to steal their source code, so now we have it. So next is we're going to start to conceal our efforts. So what we're going to do, everyone's favorite AWS attack, we're going to pretend like this is a data breach, right? We're going to start listing all S3 buckets, make them think that we're going after their S3 data, and if they're not talking to each other, the cloud team, the DevOps team don't talk, then they're not going to know that the breach is actually connected to GitHub. So what we're going to do is we're going to start seeing that we're listing all these S3 buckets we have access to. Some cool ones start popping up: customer payments, agreement methods, customer data sensitive. But we also see one called employee do not delete. And then we say, okay, what's inside here? We see something called customer connector keys. Now this is a nice file. Hopefully they didn't do what I think they did, but they probably did, is they put all the JSON files that connect to the customers in an S3 bucket. So now I have all access to JSON files that are actually theirs. So I'm going to go ahead and describe to make sure I'm not seeing things, and I can go ahead and see what's going on. So we're going to go ahead and clear this. We're going to pull down one of those keys to the important customer, and then we're going to cat that file to see actually what is inside that JSON document. And we're going to be pleasantly surprised here in a second, where we're going to go ahead and see, come on. Perfect. So now we see it's a service account, and it actually goes to GCP. And this is something that we didn't know that they had. We didn't know that they actually connected to, but we do know it goes to GCP. So now we're going to go ahead and run a Google Cloud Auth Activate to see if we can actually use this key. Good thing is we can, right? It's an activated service account credential for a BigQuery owner for an important customer, right? So what I'm going to say is now I'll pause for a second just to explain what we've done here. We've actually left who we're attacking into one of their customers, right? So we've turned them from the target to a supply chain attack, and now we're going to go ahead and see what we can do inside the customer environment, and we're going to go ahead and see, okay, what projects can we see? Are there multiple projects? Okay, there's only one project, but we can at least see it, and now we're going to go ahead and do something over here, where I'm going to see what can this actually do, and what this key is editor access to Google Cloud. Anyone who has Google Cloud knows that is a very dangerous role. It's almost a power user inside of there. So what I would do next, which I don't do here because we're going to run out of time, is I would actually create my own service accounts or key inside their environment. That way when they first learn of the breach, that first company, and they notify all their customers, hey, rotate your keys, rotate your tokens, that's okay. I've already created my own backdoor in all their customer environments, and now I'm going to keep going on inside the customer environment. So starting from a public repo that someone put out there, and why would they put it out there? We see a lot of developers try to build open source, try to build up their profile, try to build up their portfolio, and what they do is they take internal code and try to make it into an open source. And what they do is they forget to actually scrape the data, or they put it as a hidden branch. And then when they do that, if someone's scanning those repos, we can find them before they actually ever clean it up. What this leads to is a breach of this nature, where I'm going to steal source code. You're going to think I did an S3 breach, and then I'm going to go ahead and steal customer tokens to your customers' environments. And that is without just doing it. As Vincenzo said, that's purely just logging into different environments and discovering as we go. And I know we're definitely over time, so I will stop it there. Thank you, everyone.